and welcome to the second day of this special webinar series focused on wheelchair handball. My name is Courtney Gahan and I am the moderator for this session this afternoon. Before we get started, we have 3 translation languages available if you are joining us on Zoom: French, Spanish, and Arabic. You can find these options at the bottom of your screen by clicking the globe icon marked Interpretation and selecting the label for your language. This wheelchair handball weekend is focused on informing and motivating the global handball community regarding this discipline. With that in mind, today we begin with a proposal from presented by Flavio Melo for a new set of rules, 4-a-side rules for wheelchair handball, before we look at cooperation with national federations and parasport bodies. With that, we have a total of 4 presentations looking at different case studies of different countries. Portugal, presented by Vice President of the Portuguese Handball Federation and IHF Methods Commission member Pedro Sequeira. Brazil, by returning Melo, who is also chairman of the South and Central American Wheelchair Handball Working Group, alongside being a member of the IHF Wheelchair Handball Working Group. Hungary, presented by Deputy Executive Director of the Hungarian Handball Federation and Supervisor of the Hungary Wheelchair Handball National Team, András Pitz, and Croatia by National Wheelchair Handball Team Coach, Dragić. Please feel free to ask questions throughout the lectures. We will have a discussion section at the end. And please also note this is being recorded and you will be able to access it later on the IHF Education Center, available at ihfeducation.ihf.info. In addition, I would like to ask you if anything you are interested in regarding wheelchair handball is not addressed in the lecture today, to please reach out to IHF Wheelchair Handball Working Group Chairman František Taborski and also the IHF office. My colleague Jessica is going to share the email addresses you should contact in the chat. I will also remind you about this at the end, but please do also send questions for us to address today. So that brings us to the end of the introduction and we are ready for our first presentation from Flavio.
Okay, thanks. First of all, I'd like to thank for the opportunity to be here to talk about the wheelchair handball, a sport that I love. For me, this activity is a milestone for wheelchair handball around the world. So thank you very much. I would like to congratulate all members of IHF Working Group, Wheelchair Handball Working Group, and I would like to greet everyone present. Okay. My task today will be to present a proposal for IHF rules for wheelchair handball 3+1, also called wheelchair handball 4 in Central, for example. And my presentation will be according our experience with this sport in South Central America, okay? And it's important to say that the proposal isn't totally the same game used in South Central America, but we consider the characteristics of the game played in IHF rules 5+1, okay? So to start, we need to talk about a brief history. Another point is, where did the sport come from, where it's practiced, who can play, how does it work, and why play wheelchair handball 3+1. And I will present some characteristics of the game, the goal, the team, players, playing time, the ball, the court, spectacular goal, 7-meter throw, equipment, playing kit, straps, and others, okay, etc. So let's start with a brief history. Since the creation of wheelchair handball in Brazil in 2005 by Décio Calegari, as I said yesterday, this sport has been played with 2 different forms, the wheelchair handball 7 and the wheelchair handball 4. The wheelchair handball 7 is played with 7 players per team, and the wheelchair handball 4 is played with 4 players per team. But it's very important to say that wheelchair handball 4, the wheelchair handball 4 developed more than wheelchair handball 7. And you ask me why, Flavio? Some aspects influenced the development of wheelchair handball 4. For example, the number of athletes. We need a lower number of athletes. This facilitates the increase in the number of teams. Another point, an important point, was the equipment values. Our wheelchair and the other equipment are very expensive in South Central America. For example, the cost of a wheelchair today is at least 815 euros. It's too much expensive for us. And so, and if you multiply by 14 wheelchairs, it can be really very expensive. So we started to play wheelchair handball 4 with 8 wheelchairs. Okay. Another point is the difficult to obtain financing. Our sport isn't yet a Paralympic sport, so it's very difficult to do it. So, and the politics didn't help us to develop and to get financing. And without finance, we can't buy wheelchairs, for example. And a very important point is the possibility of practice by women together. So we started to do women competition. And the attractive features of the game, we started playing for a lack of resource, and then we continued because of the dynamic of the game, the strategy, spectacular goals, speed of the game, agility of the game, and the athletes started to empower themselves by making spectacular goal, amazing things. So it was very important. We start to love this game, and it was very important to develop the wheelchair handball 4. So okay. Can you hear me? Sorry. Okay. So the wheelchair handball 3+1 has influence of indoor handball, since we use the same court and the same ball, and we has influence too by beach handball because of the number of athletes and the attractiveness of the game. For example, double goals, turns, dynamic of the game, and we has to our own characteristics. For example, all players use the same uniform, including the goalkeeper, and the rules of specifically for the considering the needs of people with disabilities, with physical disabilities specifically. So, who can practice? Men and women with physical disabilities, for example, sequelae, spinal cord injury, lower limb amputation, deformation, cerebral palsy, and the others. But it's very important to say that these people need to be considered, need to be evaluated and by classifiers, and need to be considered eligible. Okay. About the team delegation, a team delegation consists of a maximum of 14 persons. About the number of players, a maximum of 4 players must be present on the court in each team. The other players are substitutes. About the goalkeeper, it's an important point. Any player any player present on the court may play as a goalkeeper at any time, but only one player may enter and remain in his goalkeeper area. And the goalkeeper is the player designated by the team to defend the goal and plays like the others. And the goalkeeper doesn't wear a shirt with different color from his teammates because any player can be the goalkeeper. The playing kit. The players of the same team on the court must wear identical uniform, including the goalkeeper, as I said before. And another point is a color code will be used to identify the class and the number of each player. And this code will be placed on the backrest of the wheelchair after the classification. So we have four classes: class 1 green, class 2 yellow, class 3 blue, class 4 red. And it's very important to say the higher class are occupied by athletes with less physical impairments, and the lower class are occupied by athletes with higher impairments. Okay. The court. The court is the same used by IHF conventional handball indoor, 40 meters long and 20 meters wide. Is the same used by IHF rules for wheelchair handball 5+1 presented by Nicole Habensefne yesterday. Regarding the goal is the same used by IHF rules for wheelchair handball 5+1 presented by Nicole yesterday, and 3 meters to 1.7 meters. The ball, the size is the same used for, in IHF indoor handball. For example, size 3 for men senior, and another example, size 2 for women senior, etc. The other information too. About the playing time, matches will be played with 2 sets of 10 minutes, which are scored separately. And if the scoreboard at the end of a set is tied, the golden goal is used to determine the winner. And if after 5 minutes of golden goal, neither team scores a goal, the golden goal is considered completed. So the winner will be determined by a series of 5 shootouts, one against goalkeeper. It's very similar to beach handball. And an important point is, if both periods are won by the same team, this team won by I score 2-0. But if each team wins a period, the result is a tie. In the event of a tie, the teams will play the third set, the tiebreak of 5 minutes. And if at the end of the third set the game remains tied, a winner must be determined. And so the winner will be determined by a series of 5 shootouts, one against goalkeeper. Here we have a board with example. We have a board with teams A and B. So the first set, team A won by 9-3. Okay. In the second set, there was a tie in regular time, 7-7. So the second set went to the 5 minutes golden goal. But After the golden goal period, the game remained tied. So the second set was for the shootout dispute. And during the dispute, the team B won by 5-4 and won the second set. Now we have a set drawn. So it will be necessary to dispute the third set of 5 minutes, a tiebreaker. And at the end of this third set of 5 minutes, teams A and B tied again, 5-5. So the game should go directly for the shootout dispute. One against goalkeeper. And after the shootout, team B won again by 5-4. Won the third set by 5-4 and the game by 2-1. An amazing game. Here, about the game. The game is played with two teams with 8 to 10 players per team, but only 4 on the court. Playing time, 2 sets of 10 minutes. Extension in case of tie, the golden goal of 5 minutes, and can happen during the 2 first sets. And in case of golden goal tie, shootouts, 1 against goalkeeper. A 5 minutes halftime break during between sets. And in case of set tie, the third set will be played. A tie break of 5 minutes. And in case of a tie break tie, we have the shootouts, 1 against goalkeeper, and it can be in each set. Regarding the court, as I said before, the same as a conventional handball. And regarding the functional classification points, the sum of the 4 players on the court may not exceed 12 points. So here we have another example. First set of 10 minutes, Team Blue won by 6-4. The second set of 10 minutes, we had a tie. So the game went to the golden goal of 5 minutes. And during this moment, the team red scored a goal and won the second set. So we had the third set. And during the third set, the team blue won the set during the 5 minutes by 3-2 and won the game by 2-1. Okay? So it's very important to say that the game can be faster with 25, 30 minutes, but it can also take up to 55, 1 hour. It depends of the characteristics of the game. Regarding the functional classification, there are 4 classes, as I said before, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And once again, the higher class are athletes with less physical impairments, and athletes and the lower class are athletes with higher impairments. So, and the sum of athletes on the court cannot exceed 12 points, okay? So the athlete number 1, for example, 4 points. Athlete number 2, 3 points. Athlete number 3, 3 points. And the athlete number 4 cannot be athlete with 3 points, but athlete with 2 or 1 point, okay? It's only an example. And you ask me, why, Flavio? The idea is that people with different levels of physical disability in different functional classification can play together. The 7-meter throw is basically the goal is scored by 7-meter throw, 2 points are awarded. Okay, basically 2 points. A double goal. And now I will talk about an important moment in wheelchair handball 3+1 is the spectacular goals, because this is an amazing feature because of the attractiveness of the movements and the possibility of the players being protagonists and doing amazing things, amazing movements. So the spectacular goals are worth 2 points, and there are two ways. The first is the 360 rotation, goals with 360 rotation, and goalkeeper points. For example, if a player scores a goal with 306 turn, double goal. Okay? And another, but it's very important to say too, the turn needs to be complete. The turns need to be complete. And the spin can only be done using a hand, on a hand. And if a goalkeeper scores the goal since his area, we have a double goal too, okay? So it's very dynamic, and it will influence all dynamic of the game. Regarding the equipment, the wheelchair is the same used in wheelchair handball 5+1, but with this proposal is to include two different rates for athletes with different functional levels. For example, here, from the floor to the top of the seat cushion or platform. So athletes with scores above 3 points, 58 centimeters, and athletes with up to 3 points, 63 centimeters. Why, Flavio? Because we have already used it, and it's very important to the players. They have different functionalities, and it worked very well. Regarding the straps, players have to be strapped to the wheelchair at the upper and lower legs in order to avoid lifting or moving using the legs. So if a player uses his legs or foot, he will be punished with a suspension until the next turnover, or maybe can be awarding of a 7-meter throw. Playing the ball, what is permitted? The game has throw, catch, stop, push, or hit the ball by using hands, arms, head, and torso. Hold the ball for a maximum of 3 seconds. Push the wheelchair and dribble the ball. Place the ball on the lap, not beat on the knees. It's important to say that. While push the wheelchair for a maximum of 3 seconds. Monitor and follow the opponent with or without the ball by using arms and hands, as long as opponent has enough time and distance to react and danger is present. Okay. Block or force away an opponent with arms or hand. and enter the goal area or across the sidelines without the ball after a shot or after being pushed when not creating an advantage. So it's only some points that is permitted. So, and regarding the violations, we use some information about the rules, IHF rules for beach handball, and the violation is used to punishment, the suspension, reduction to the next turnover, and disqualification, red card. And now I will present to an example of a game dynamic for I brought an example of the final during the Pan American Championship in 2014, Brazil versus Argentina. And the wheelchair handball, the teams need to choose the best strategy to attack. Maybe with 3 or with 4. Here, I brought a offensive movement with numerical superiority. So the Brazilian team is attacking with 4 players. Therefore, they will have a numerical superiority. So he can attack using the sides or maybe the pivot and to try score a goal. But it's very important if the goalkeeper catch the ball and he can do a double goal. So it's a choose. Okay. Here we have another attack using the pivot with numerical superiority again. The Brazilian team and the Argentina and the team. I'm sorry, if the team who have the ball lose the ball, it can be very dangerous. For example, here the Argentina team get the ball, pass and get the counterattack, and score the goal. And it can be doing by a player. This player could do a turning of 360 turn, or maybe the goalkeeper do a double goal too. So it's very dynamic. It's a lot of strategy possibilities and movements. Okay. So why we need to play and promote the wheelchair handball 3+1? Because this game is dynamic. We have a lot of possibilities of strategy and speed and agility. It's a spectacular game because we have spectacular goals, spectacular movements. The cost is fewer. We have fewer costs. About the gender, it makes the participation of women with physical disabilities in handball more viable. And the athletes are empowered to be the protagonists of the game with spectacular movements, spectacular goals, and exciting sports. And in addition, this is a very attractive sport. So it's an exciting sport to watch on TV and cause interest in the media. And in my opinion, this sport, we need to think about handball for everyone. In my opinion, it's a good way. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Flavio. So now we move on to our discussion about cooperation with national federations and parasport bodies. And we begin with Portugal with Pedro Sequeira.
Okay, thank you very much, Courtney. Okay, we'll start to share my presentation. Okay, I believe everyone sees my presentation. First of all, thank you for the International Handball Federation for the invitation, and special hello for all my colleagues in this panel. So, as Courtney said, my presentation will be about the cooperation between Portuguese Handball Federation and the national parasport organizations. I will start to give you some background about our sports in Portugal. First of all, this project is a project inside the Portuguese Handball Federation since the season 2009-2010, and it's called Project Handball for All, and then I will explain this why this name. But at this point, I would like to thank Joaquim Escada, Danilo Ferreira, Jaime Antunes, Nuno Januário, Jorge Carvalho, Silmara Fernandes, and Ana Moreira for the terrific job they are doing during these last almost 12 years. So this project has 11 seasons, and we will start, or we are already starting the 12th season this year. We call this project Handball for All because inside this project we have not only wheelchair handball, we also have handball for blind persons, handball for intellectually disabled persons, and handball for prisoners. So we have for now 4 variants, but during this seminar, of course, we will focus our presentation in wheelchair handball. So how does this start? As you saw already before, we started in the sports seasons 2009-2010 with this project. In the first 3 years, the big objective was to disseminate wheelchair handball all around Portugal. So in the different, as you, I'm pretty sure all know, Portugal is not such a big country like Brazil. So it's easy to come from north to south in one day. And so during many days, during these 3 years, many exhibition games were showed in different halls, so people could have contact with wheelchair handball. And the focus still today in this project is still wheelchair handball. The other variants are also important, but wheelchair handball indeed is becoming bigger and bigger. What is interesting, and then later we will give some suggestions for the countries who would start to have wheelchair handball projects, is that most of our teams, they come from regional sport association who have already disabled people. So we are not creating new clubs. We are using the clubs who are already used with different sport variations for disabled people to have wheelchair handball. And of course, the coach education program was very important during this project, and it's still ongoing. So we have, as in almost all European countries, 4 levels for coach education. And in the first 2 levels, level 1 and level 2, wheelchair handball is an obligatory subject. So that even a normal or a handball coach for the normal handball in question marks, has also education in wheelchair handball if he has the opportunity to go to these variants. So concerning the competition, and I'm glad that Flavio just now presented to you a wheelchair handball with 4 players, because as we started with the competitions, and we have competition for 8 years in a row, first of all, we started with these 2 variants, handball for 7 at that time, then we changed for handball for 60 wheel cities, and we always had handball for 4 for the same reasons that already Flavio presented to you, concerning dynamic, concerning spectacularity, concerning budget, and of course, when you have few players, it's easier to have teams. So in the season 2016-2017, we adapt wheelchair handball 6, and we never played again wheelchair handball with 7. And this has to do with the field, because with 7 wheelchair, it was too much people inside the court. But I believe yesterday, Flavio already explained this in his presentation. how does our competitions work? As you can see, it's very similar to regular handball. So we have a championship, two groups, North and South, because as I told you, we have not so big country, only with 10 million people, and they play all against all. And at the end, we have a final phase with the best teams from each group, and they will play for the champion. The cup is a little different. It's also two groups, but they are playing in one weekend, all against all. And at the end of the season, we have a final four where we will have the champion of the cup. And finally, for the Super Cup, this is also the same as in handball and in other sports. The winner of the championship and the winner of the cup, they will play in one match who will win the Super Cup. And we are doing this parallel. We are doing this for wheelchair handball with 4 players and for wheelchair handball with 6 players. Normally, when we have the Super Cup, we join this together, so the public and the fans have the opportunity to see the 2 variants in their final games. And in Portugal, all the competitions are mixed. And I would also like to explain this. As you know, for unfortunately reasons, countries like Brazil and countries like Africa and some countries from Asia have much more disabled people for medical and wars. Well, unfortunately, you know all the reasons. And in Europe, this is quite different. So in Portugal, we have not so many women that are disabled as men. So for us, it was not fair to try to separate, because if we would separate, normally one team with 10 players maybe has 8 men and 2 women. And if the 2 women couldn't play with the men, it would be difficult that they could play wheelchair handball. So for now, it's mixed. I know that for the future, we must discuss this, but this is how we are doing today in Portugal. Okay, concerning the number of teams. So in the last 11 years, there is a variation between 6 and 10 teams. Some years 10, some years 7, some years 6. Our national team started to work in 2014, 2015. So 1 year before the first European tournament. Okay, how is the current situation in Portugal? So today we have, or last year I would say we had 7 teams, and normally we have starting projects during 1 year. It was last year, they didn't have official games. They had the help of the coordination group to implement handball in these clubs. So in this season, we should have 10 teams. Of course, we need to see how the pandemic will go on. The competition maybe will start without public as in regular handball here in Portugal. We currently have about 130 players. We have 15 coaches. Of course, we have more coaches. We did education, but formally and connected with the teams, we have 15 coaches, and we have 25 officials, so the officials of the different teams. From handball, we have 4 to 6 referees who are doing handball and wheelchair handball. So they have the 2 specializations. And we have 2 delegates that are only for wheelchair handball. How is the project, or how the project started and is implemented in Portugal? So the Portuguese handball, well, the wheelchair handball is inside the Portuguese Handball Federation, and we have 3 government partners. We have the Institute for Sport and Youth. This is the institute who is connected with the government and who gives the budget for the different federations, and also for wheelchair handball in our case. We have the National Rehabilitation Institute, who is the institute also from the government in charge for all disabled sports. And finally, we have the Portuguese Paralympic Committee, who is supporting our wheelchair handball. The good for this is from their side. So we have these three institutions who are giving us direct support for the wheelchair handball project. So we are not taking money from the normal handball or from beach handball to wheelchair handball. No, they have their own budgets inside the Portuguese Handball Federation, what is quite good, as you can imagine. And inside the Portuguese Sport Institutes, there are two kind of projects where the Portuguese Handball Federation appeals. One is called the Sports for All, so sports for all people. And of course, because we have a national team, we also have support from these institutes. And at the end, this is also what is very important for a country like us, is a recognition. So even not being a Paralympic sport, our national team is recognized by the Portuguese Paralympic Committee and of course by the Portuguese government. So like the other handball teams or in other sports, and I remember when we won the European tournament, the wheelchair handball was received by the president of Portugal, exactly like with the other sport teams, and we are very proud of this. And of course, as I think you already understood, so wheelchair handball in Portugal is treated equal with handball and beach handball. The only difference is the size. In the handball, of course, we have more players, more coaches, more referees, but everything else is exactly the same inside the federation. So, and I'm coming to the end of my presentation, but taking in what I talked to you about how is wheelchair handball implemented in Portugal, here are some of the recommendations that maybe some of the countries who are hearing us and don't have already wheelchair handball could use. So the first thing and the most obvious thing is to create inside the federation a wheelchair working group. This is, I would say, the most important step. I know that the different countries have different organizations, but the people who more like handball normally are the people who are inside the federations. So this is a very important step. Of course, you can get people from the universities, from the disabled organizations, but the umbrella organization should be the National Federation from the sports. Then the other thing is, and many people are doing this yesterday and today, is to contact or the International Handball Federation or a country who is very well developed. Flavio is a good person for that. So you should contact, or of course there are Netherlands, Croatia, I could say all the countries who started here in Europe and was presented in the last tournament. So it is important to get information. You don't need to start from the scratch. Everything is already, or almost everything is already written, tested. So there is a lot of information at International Handball Federation, of course, at the European Handball Federation website, at the national federations. So you have a lot of information. And at the end, when this seminar is finished, you will have 4 hours of information about how wheelchair handball works. And that's why it's important that even people who never heard for wheelchair handball come to this kind of seminars and hear about this and make questions and try to understand how this works. From our experience, this 4 point, it's very important. There are, in all countries, there are associations for disabled people. Many of them don't have sports. Many of them already have sports. Or in other sports, and I would recommend that your first step is go there and ask them for the possibility to make an exhibition game. And even you can take the people who are there with wheelchairs. Okay, I have a handball ball. We go to the hall and we will make an experience. And I'm pretty sure at the end there will be a lot of enthusiasm for wheelchair handball, even if it is only for leisure and for fun. We are taking more people for handball. And in the end, and this is, and I know this is quite different in all around the world. Normally, the Paralympic Committee should be the organization, umbrella organization for Paralympic sports, but because wheelchair and non-Paralympic sports, but because wheelchair handball is not yet a Paralympic sport, maybe in your country there are another or different organizations that are in charge of these sports. And so you should contact them and to try to understand how you can build your own project in your country. So this is what I have to present to you. Thank you very much. And of course, Portugal can help you in any way if you want. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pedro. So now we go to Brazil with Flavio again.
Go. Okay, now my task is talk about the cooperation with national federations and parasport bodies in Brazil. Okay, and we have a structure with 4 points about the cooperation, the education, the financial and material results as a possibility, and the dissemination of knowledge. Okay, so about the cooperation. Today in Brazil, since 2009, the ABRACA, Brazilian Association of Wheelchair Handball, was the institution who organized and promoted wheelchair handball in Brazil. Okay, so since 2009 we had 11 national competition. Only in 2020 we don't have because of COVID. Okay, but and today we have more. There are more than 300 athletes, 300 athletes in Brazil, but only 200 registered because we have some problem to do registered because of money and other things. So it's very difficult to develop the wheelchair handball because of Pedro Sequeira told us now. Our sport is not yet a Paralympic sport, and it's very difficult. So in last year, in 2019, we had the first meeting with the president of National Handball Federation of Brazil, Ricardo Souza, and Javelin Almeida, who is here with us watching this moment. And they think about the development of wheelchair handball, and it was very important to development of wheelchair handball in Brazil, and of course in South Central, because we always try, we are trying to develop to motivate our friends, okay, our neighbors. So we are in cooperation now since 2019, National Federation and Brazilian Wheelchair Handball Association. But as Pedro Sequeira said, it's difficult, but we started to do some movementations and activities with the Brazilian Paralympic Committee. Last year, we did the city, the the structure, it's an amazing structure of Brazilian Paralympic Committee, and we did a competition in this structure. It was amazing and very important to approximation and to do a cooperation. We started it. And now we are in in contact to firm to uh, to do it currently, okay? And now in Brazil, we had the the Brazilian Clubs Committee, who was created last month, and it can be another way to develop the wheelchair handball around the Brazil. So today we depend of institutions specialized in people with physical disabilities. We depend of clubs and universities with who have teams, and it's very difficult. And we depended until last year of the Brazilian Association, but it's very difficult. We need the cooperation with the National Federation, okay? So it can be the structure that we believe that can be very important to develop the wheelchair handball around the world, around the Brazil. About the education, the attempt will be doing courses for managers, create a coaches education system, create a referees education and education system too, and classify a training and education system too for new people who is interested to be classifiers. Regarding the financial and material results, in Brazil, you can try to get public results from 3 different ways: cities, states, and federal government. In Brazil, it's a very large country. We have there are 5,570 cities, 26 states and federal districts. So, but we have difficult. Another point and possibilities: private partner and sponsor results to develop the wheelchair handball in Brazil. And the partnership with institutions that work with people with physical disabilities, like non-governmental organization, NGOs, parasport clubs and organizations of parasport, and supporting institutions for people with physical disabilities. It's our structure about that. And about the dissemination of knowledge, partnership with scientific organizations like SOBAMA is an institution to development of adapted physical activity, partnership with universities, partnership to develop studies about wheelchair handball, to develop materials to develop the wheelchair handball, and study the athletes, the other things about the wheelchair handball, okay? And in Brazil, it's important to say, in Brazil, we have a lot of studies published in scientific how do you say, revistas científicas. Okay. Periodics. Partnership with studies group, creation of education materials like books, articles, collections about wheelchair handball. So it can be, we need to work too much. As I said, we have a lot of things that was did that Brazilian Association did, but now we are together with National Federation, and we need to work too much and do that structure to be exited, to get exited. Okay. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Flavio. Now we proceed to Hungary with András.
Thank you, Courtney. Hi, everyone. First of all, I try to share with my presentation with you guys here. I hope you will see it. Yeah, from the beginning. So I'm here. First of all, I'm so happy to be here and I can be a part of this meeting. My title is Cooperation with the National Federations, National Handball Federation and Parasport bodies in Hungary. First of all, short introduction. My name is András Pitz. I'm a Deputy Executive Director of the Hungarian Handball Federation and also a supervisor of the County Handball Federations and supervisor of the Parasport Subcommittee in Hungarian Handball Federations. We have two different groups, so global and wheelchair handball, and I'm so happy to see these guys. Before 2020, we started the negotiation with the Hungarian Paralympic Committee in 2008. So we have 12 or 13 years old history, but it was just a normal negotiation, a normal conversation with the Hungarian Paralympic Committee. And 2 years later, we could take a cooperation agreement with the Hungarian Paralympic Committee. At the beginning, we just talked about global, but after that, that was the second or third meeting, we started a conversation regarding wheelchair handball. So it was 2010, and when we signed the agreement with the contract with the Hungarian Paralympic Committee, it was already there. So wheelchair handball and global. We have a special situation in Hungary because the government can support the sport like parasport, but not directly, through a company. In our life, in our parasport life, Coloplast Hungary Ltd was the company who support us from the beginning. So we are so happy and so grateful because they are always behind us and always supporting us with them corporate tax. So it's much easier with them and with the federation than with the loan. So we were able to start the work with the Parasport Subcommittee in the Federation with 6 members. It was 2014. That was the big milestone in our life in the Federation, because we could work together and we could find out how we can do and what we can do in the future with this budget. What we got at the first time, it was a 45,000 euro budget. It looks like so big maybe or huge, but or maybe not, but that was it was huge for us. But the beginning, we didn't have anything. We didn't have balls, we didn't have wheelchairs, we didn't have lines or something like this. So that's why it was a very big thing in our life. And we tried to do a plan how we can and where we can start together with the guys. At the beginning, it was end of 2015. We got an invitation from St. Pölten, Austria, to like an observer, just be there and just watching the Wheelchairs Handball Nations tournament. That was the first tournament what we saw in live. We take a lot of time and we spoke a lot with the guys there to see how they can organize. We talk with the OC members and everything, because we really would like to do something in Hungary at that time, but we didn't have experience. So that's why it was so important to be there and see Austria, how they can do. Austria is so close to Hungary, so it was only 1.5 hours from Budapest, so it was easy to do it. We tried after this event. We tried to promoting everywhere this sport, not just disabled athletes, for everyone, staff and professional athletes and everyone, because it was so new for everybody. That's why it was so important to promoting. 2017, that was a breakthrough, because purchase of 27 wheelchairs from China with Dutch help. So thank you very much for Dutch, because they had a lot of experience regarding the orders. So that was a first big milestone, or second big milestone. Finally, we could buy 27 wheelchairs from China. That kind of wheelchairs was not the professional, not the high level wheelchairs. But it was okay. We could start the work and we could start the trainings together. So that was enough at the beginning, and we are so satisfied with this. So that was 2017. We got an invitation 2018 European Wheelchair Handball Nations Tournament, Portuguese, and we were fourth place. That was a very good experience, and we really liked Portuguese, and everything was so nice and so good. During this event, we had a very good connection with Holland and Croatia, and of course Portuguese team. We spoke a lot, and we got a lot of things from there, a lot of experience and everything. So that was very good for us. 2019 European Wheelchair Handball Nations Tournament, Croatia, with 6 teams. We were third place. That was our best place in our history, and we got extra motivation because one of our players, who was a member of the All-Star team, was so happy, and that was so good for us. A lot of good experience and everything. So that was the road until this time. Current situation, development of regional system. We have 4 new clubs now in Hungary, not just the capital, Budapest. We have 3 different other countries, Miskolc, Szeged, Dragić. So we really would like to focus these cities, because they're so big. Okay, Hungary is not Brazil. We have only just 10 million people, a little bit same situation like Portuguese, but we really would like to put the clubs everywhere around the country, not just middle, the capital of this, the country. So that's why we found out that is a good way. So we have 4 new clubs now. And right now, as everyone knows, unfortunately, COVID-19 this year, it is not easy, our life right now, because we had already started the preparation for the World Championship Sweden, but as you know, the event was cancelled. So it was so hard for the players, for disabilities players. We had a lot of meetings, online meetings. We have a lot of speech during Zoom or Teams applications, but it's not the same like if you meet together and training together. But our national coach, Gabriela, organized online trainings everywhere and try to motivate the players because it's so important for the athletes. Get extra motivations from the coach and from the federation and from everywhere to work more. And they made a very nice and inspiration video, and they asked me try to play it when I speak with them. So it's just a short video, but I try to say.
Egyszer majd véget ér, még nappals az ég, de addig még az élet folyton rólunk mesél. Azt, hogy minden sebet nem gyógyíthat meg, az idő megmutatja, bármi történt, mert jó nekem. És nem minden nehéz, van, hogy bennünk kevés, de mindig lesz elég erőnk, ha végre elkezdenénk. Lesznek tettek szavak, amik majd bántanak, de hogy bármit legyőz, ahhoz le kell győznöd magad. Magából sem hozhat vissza senki senkit, majd neked, sem nekem. De bolond vágyak helyett többet ér, ha van benned hit és erő. S jókor vagy, jó legyen. Amíg a lójaknak, amíg a szíved visz, nehéz az lehet, de lehetetlen az nincs. Amíg a lójaknak, legyen a fejedben, lehet, hogy nehéz lesz, de lehetetlen nem.
So I'm so proud of the guys. They're so motivated and so powerful. So it's inspiring for everyone. So that was the situation right now with the guys. We had some plans and activities and goals in the future because we really want to do something new in the future. We started the preparation of prerequisites for coaching courses. It's like a normal coaching course in Hungary. We have a coaching course office. They are always they always organize the Hungarian handball coaching course every year with license A, B, C, and D. And our plan was so simple. We want to copy this, and we really would like to use this system. Our goal is only licensed coach is allowed to train the team in the future. That is our aim. That is our goal. It's not easy, but we start the conversation with the guys and the athletes and everyone who is open, who is not open. But I'm so happy because a lot of people was open. So 12 people for wheelchair handball and 16 people for goalball course. They are open, so they can start the work with us for next year. We really would like to organize in Hungary at the first time. So, and after that, with the help of European Handball Federation and International Handball Federation, maybe that can be international wheelchair handball coaching course. But it's of course it's in the future, so it's not right now. But we really hope it's not just a dream or not just thing for us. We can work together and we can support each other, and maybe in the future there will be a very nice and good coaching course together. So that is our planned activities and goals. So right now this is the situation in Hungary. I really hope I can get a good picture for you guys how we working in Hungary, and you can see our road from the past until that time. So I really hope it was useful for everyone. And if you have any question our system, or if you have any question for everything, I will be here end of the presentations, and you can ask. But right now, I think that was our presentation. So thank you very much for your attention, and enjoy the next meeting. Thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, András. So now the last one is from Ivan about Croatia. Just a small note to everyone, please try to start to send your questions now so that I can be prepared for the Q&A that's coming up. And yes, now we will take a look at Croatia.
Hello, everyone. I'll try to be as seen. I have to thank, first of all, to IHF to invite me to share something we did till now and our plans for the future. I have to say that as you saw, Flavio and Pedro and András had really good presentations, and I have to say that the video was incredible. The music is so motivational. Okay, first of all, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Ivan Dragić, national handball wheelchair handball coach in Croatia, and besides that, I work in a normal handball, and I'm part of the staff of cadet national team, and I'm a youth coach in Handball Club Zagreb. We started everything 2017, and I'm not gonna say anything new when I said that handball is very popular sport in Croatia. Pedro said that Portugal is a small country. András said that Hungary is a small country, but Croatia is a really small country with only 4 million people, even something less. Last years, some people went outside. So handball is sport number 2 in Croatia, and wheelchair handball, as the newest branch, has achieved great popularity in the last two or 3 years with last 2 nations tournaments with good results. So we gathered really good interest of the audience, of the public. Croatian wheelchair handball national team, as you know, is a current gold medal holder after the nations tournament that we organized here in Zagreb last year, 2019. Okay, everything started in 2017. In December, we invited Italian national team, and we did our first game ever of wheelchair handball, and we gathered some group of people that played wheelchair basketball. We introduced them with some. Even myself, I didn't know much about wheelchair handball, but we learned on our way to that game. We had only a few trainings before that game, before that match. We invited everybody important in Croatia, in Zagreb, and we won that match against Italy, who had some wheelchair handball experience. I have to say that this event, this first match against Italy, was something that wakened up the interest of the public. We managed to push ourselves into the media, into the newspapers, into televisions, and everybody asks, what is this, what is that? And that was the way for us, and that was a sign that we are doing something good for those people and for the whole community. So we kept going. We was in touch with IHF, who invited us for the Nations Tournament in Portugal next year, 2018. But on our way, we had some obstacles, but I'm going in this way. So I'll say that Croatian Paralympic Committee as the highest organization in parasport organization in Croatia was the great support, but it was a problem that we had when we tried to travel to Portugal or other projects, but Portugal was the biggest till then, and they had no budget for us. They had no budget for us, and we couldn't understand how it's possible that such good idea for in our minds had no support from umbrella organization for Paralympics. So Croatian Handball Federation stepped in and support us after with support of now it's Ministry of Sports, some kind as support of Paralympic Committee we get, and we managed to travel to Portugal. We won the silver medal in Portugal. That was another big push, big step forward for us. And everything that I am speaking about now is national team. Why I'm speaking that, I'm going backwards now. And you said it. I said something about 2017 and the national team, but we had no system. We have no system. You will see after. We will see later. The obstacles we are facing on daily basis is that wheelchair handball as a sport officially, at least, does not exist. It not exist. We are not, in Croatia, Croatian Paralympic Committee. If the International Handball Paralympic Committee is not permitted like a sport, Croatian Paralympic Committee does not allow us as a sport. So the budget is in existence as well. A stable budget is necessary for the function of any team, especially specific as a wheelchair handball team. So we had any guarantee that we can face any project that we are facing, for the team. You know that in developed countries, Croatia may be in some other eyes developed countries, but in that way, I think maybe Nordic countries or Netherlands or had good facilities for people with disabilities, but in Croatia is not the case, and we faced many obstacles when we tried to organize even trainings or matches or anything for the people in wheelchair.
Excuse me, Ivan, sorry.
Yes?
We just actually can't see your presentation.
You can't see my presentation?
No.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
That's okay. Do you see now? Do you see it now?
No.
Do you see it now?
Yes, now we see your screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should I go backwards or should I keep going?
Well, I think you've explained the concepts
Yeah.
well. I don't know whether it was important that we saw.
Okay.
But we have listened to everything.
Just keep. Okay. The main thing that I want to explain that we started upside down. We started backwards. The whole story with wheelchair handball in Croatia started upside down. I will explain. The national team should be the result of the stable system. As Pedro explained, and Portugal was the big inspiration for us. It is still, and thank them for that. Should be the result of the stable system of a league or leagues, different leagues, the big base of players, and that should be the you know, the pool or the base that you can select the people from to national team. But we gone in the opposite direction. The national team and its good results. First, the match against Italy, like introduction game in Zagreb. Then the first Nations tournament in Portugal. Then the second Nations tournament in Croatia. That's the starting point for us, and we are trying to now, on the base of that, we are trying to foundate the base of clubs, the one by one clubs, and to encourage the people with disabilities to start the sport, and handball, of course, between the others. So where we now, the Croatian Handball Federation has included wheelchair handball as among other branches. As Pedro said, it's formatted like a work group, a small group of people, but we make one step ahead. But Croatian Paralympic Committee is a practice of including periodical new sports in its federation. Unfortunately, wheelchair handball is not among those sports yet. I hope it will be soon. So in the last year, 2019, we have officially one club formatted or founded, and 3 more in preparation that we spoke about in different regions of Croatia, and that's the minimum of 4 clubs that we could start a league. And last year I didn't put it in a presentation, but in a coaches seminar that is obligated for all coaches in Croatia, we had presentation. My colleague Kazimir Iljaš and I presentation for all coaches, all handball coaches in Croatia, presenting rules, history, and try to promote kind of in one way between all the coaches to involve some kind of way in a wheelchair handball. And after winning the gold medal in Zagreb last year, Zagreb Handball Federation, who is the main organizer for everything connected with the national team, organized several receptions with the city in different cities, city and state leaders, but and everybody promised something that should help us in the preparation of future projects like this cancelled World and Euro Championship in Sweden. As I said, this is the big promotional step forward for us. So I think the first step in some promoting of wheelchair sport in general will be the encouraging people in wheelchairs to play sports through different institutions that they had to get involved in various sports program, and of course this wheelchair handball as a career should be the sport number one. The plan of all involved in wheelchair handball project is encourage the different people that are involved already to create the clubs and to create the competition system. And as you all know, due to worldwide health situation in Croatia as well as in the whole world, all handball activities for this year have been cancelled. We have contacts with all members of national team, and they are active as they can in their communities and in their small sport activities, but we didn't get the chance to organize any wheelchair handball activity that we have planned for preparation of World and Euro Championship in Sweden. That's the big step back for all of us, I'm sure, but the same as I hope that soon will be better, and everything we could organize something and to keep on with our plan for the Paralympics and go on. So my friends Pedro and András said we had really good collaboration with those federations as well as Netherlands, and I hope we could keep going with these activities as well. For example, we invited Hungary, and Hungary invited us to play some games and trainings, and I hope some more regional national teams will be involved, as Slovenia, who was the new participant last year, as Bosnia, as Serbia, that we spoke last year, something. But first of all, of course, is healthy situation in all the world. Some promo activities that I said. Okay. So that's it. Thank you for listening, and I'm open to answer some question if you have after. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. So now we move to the question and answer part. So I will begin. Here is a question specifically for Hungary, András. Somebody asked, you mentioned that you have support. Oh, is András there? I can't see him. I don't know if he's disappeared. So maybe I'll ask a different question. Okay. Nicole, are you also present? Because we have a rule question, so I was going to ask this to you. Hi. Well, we had someone ask if the next international championship is going to be 5+1 or 3+1, or what is the purpose of this?
The next event, which will be a combined event with the World Championship and the European Championship, is supposed to take place at the 5+1 event.
Okay. Sorry. I don't know if we've lost András. That's what I'm trying to clarify. Okay. Flavio, somebody asked about for spectacular goals in the proposal you mentioned. While the player spins, can they dribble? Will that be counted in this proposal? Would that be counted as the 2-point goal? Or no dribbling during the spin? Does it make sense?
Let me see if I understood. So, if the athlete doing the turn, the complete turn, it word 2 points, a double goal. But if it is not complete, it only a goal. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I had a specific question about Hungary, but it seems András is not here. So we will skip that one. About this is back to classification material. Yesterday, Nicole talked about 4 functional classes. I don't know exactly if this makes sense to you. This is exactly what the person wrote. Does the borderline not exist anymore?
I'm not quite sure either, to be honest. So
okay.
At the moment we have these 4 classes, and we do not have the intermediate classes. If probably that what was the question.
Okay. Thank you. We have someone asking about whether handball is being developed for the blind. I'm not sure that any of our panelists can answer this, so
I can help.
Yes.
If you want, yes, because we also have these variants. But because this was a wheelchair handball seminar, I wouldn't speak about this. But if there is a question, I can very quick say we are making some experiments because, as you know, there is another sports with blind people. So we are using the same people but playing handball, and it's the tests for now are quite good. And we will see the next year how it will develop. But it's totally possible. And if everybody knows goalball, well, I will say that the dynamic is very similar. We have some doubts concerning the goals because they have smaller goals. And if people are playing handball and passing and throwing, it's quite different, maybe with less players. So we will do in the next year some tests, but it is possible. This is what, as far as I can say for now.
Yeah. That's very helpful, thank you. That's actually all the questions so far, but I might, since we're all here, I might ask our panelists who have joined us today, so specifically Pedro and Ivan. Yesterday we had somebody asking about if you have a small number of like club teams in the country and you want to move toward formation of a national team. Do you have some advice? Of course, we know people need to work with their national federation, but can you talk us through in a bit more detail some of the early steps that were taken in Portugal and Croatia?
Ivan, do you want to start?
Okay, no problem. As I said, national team is our mainly the only project for now. So I can explain how we started. From the beginning, we start to gather the people from basketball, wheelchair basketball team, and as they have many clubs in Croatia, I think I don't know 20 clubs or something like that, and they have a good league. So between them, they know each other really good, and they know who's capable of driving the wheelchair good and manage the ball good. So we gathered an interesting group of people. Some of them had earlier contacts with handball, but most of them didn't have any contact with handball. So we introduced them to world of handball and the world of wheelchair handball. So they liked it. They liked it, and they liked the opportunity to actually be good at something, because in wheelchair basketball, sincerely, they are not so good on the European or world level. And that was the motivation, extra motivation for them. Step by little by little, we gathered the whole group, and we played that first game against Italy, and after that we get the serious things on the table, and we spoke with players, with sports, different members of our national team, and we put them as a plan, and a multi-year plan to develop a competitive team who will compete in a European level, and we did it. I don't know if we are multi-talented nation or what, but we explained them really good, and we are now quite competitive national team. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pedro.
No, I cannot correct. What can I say? I would say that wheelchair handball in Portugal is like the all other sports 100 years ago in Portugal. 100 years ago in Portugal, the best swimmers played football and handball and basketball. And I think this was the same in all around the countries. The good players from all sports played all sports. And then they start specialization. And here in Portugal, it was pretty the same. So we are not fundamentalists. We know that, for example, in Portugal, wheelchair basketball is very famous, and we spoke with them and asked them to try to play handball, and they liked a lot. So like similar with Ivan. So it is, for now, it is possible that disabled people play more than one sport. And for us, this is not a problem. If in one weekend they play one game for rugby for disabled people and for handball, this is not a problem. This is good. So they can try the different sports. So this was our first step. And I think this would be, for honest, the best recommendation for everybody. So if you don't have so much disabled people, don't make competitions between sports, let them play all kinds of sports. And of course, and at the end, maybe they will only choose for one or two. We have some of our best players, and even know them very nice. They are playing more than one sport, and they like handball. Incredible. What I think should be interesting, and our national coach is doing this very well because he has a club in south of Lisbon, in a region called Setúbal. It's very near from Lisbon. What he's doing very nice is picking up young people, because unfortunately we also have young people with some disabilities, and doing also the psychological recover from these people through sports. So we are not, if they go to the national team, this would be amazing, but we also need to look for sport for everybody as something that can help them to integrate better in our society. And if we start early with this kind of people, even if then later they go to rugby or basketball, we are doing some social issue that is very important. So I think at the beginning, everybody should be very open-minded, look how disabled people are organized, pick them up, make some exhibition games. You can do together with other sports. This is really not important. I think what is the difficult thing is that in some very developed countries, there are not so many disabled people. And this is good. I would prefer that there was 0% disabled in our world. So there will be always difference. I think the difficult issue, and I think Brazil and maybe Japan, because from what I heard yesterday, are very good contacts concerning the problem with the prices of wheelchairs. I would say this is the biggest problem here in Europe, because they are really expensive, and even countries like even before said that are very developed in handball, to get the budget to buy the special wheelchairs, this is not an easy step. And I think the European Handball Federation and the International Handball Federation are giving a lot of support on this. But I think the turning point to be more successful is really the equipment, not the goals, not the balls. This is quite easy, but the wheelchairs is not so easy because being expensive. So at the starting point, you should play with normal chairs, not using the competition chairs, because if you are already doing this kind of, or buying this expensive equipment, then it could be different. Sorry for the big answer, but it was a very nice question.
It's actually perfect, because then we have a few questions about exactly this, about getting the chairs and so on. Somebody has asked whether the IHF can offer any, if the IHF has any guidance for this. So I think this is maybe a question for you, František. If the IHF has any way to offer support to help people get this equipment?
In this moment, it's difficult to answer it correctly. It must be always answering step by step and in a very concrete situation. Although it's not possible to tell general. In everything, we will try to support. Hello? Can you help me?
Yes, we can hear you.
In every case, we can start with some methodical support, I was asking IHF to have a special website for wheelchair handball. You can find already some material there, and I hope that with participants of another experienced people will be more. And later is according about specific situation in each national federation. But generally, I am very happy for this example today, that each national federation is trying to find own specific way, is depending about the national situation, about the possibility to contact different institutions which are not directly connected to handball, to find contact to National Paralympic Committee, etc. I would like to thank to all four speakers today, because they show really a lot of nice examples.
So speaking of support, we had someone ask about the support for the Hungarian Federation from the company, and I have an answer from András, who unfortunately his internet connection has cut out, so he's answering us by text message, and he's told us that it is financial support that they receive, and they have a very good relationship with this company. They have some regular meetings, and the people involved in this company are very open-minded and supportive. So he understands that this is a very positive situation for them in Hungary, and maybe not everyone will be able to have this. But this brings me to a question maybe for our other panelists who are here. We've spoken about cooperation with your national federations and parasport bodies. Does anyone have any input about other funding, about perhaps working with sponsors and so on? Has anyone of your countries explored anything like this? Maybe no.
I can start maybe.
Yes, I had a feeling you might have it.
Thank you. No, I would say, well, in our case, we are using some of the same sponsors, from handball to wheelchair handball. For instance, our national team jerseys, they are the same. In our case, for propaganda, we are using Select. So we are using Select for handball and for wheelchair handball. So we are not doing a difference. And now when we are speaking with the sponsors, we are always saying that if you are sponsoring us, it's all national teams or it's all competitions. Of course, that's, for example, in the professional Liga, we have one specific sponsor, and for the women's league in handball, we have another specific. But when we are speaking overall budget, we are also always asking for this. So this is my first recommendation. The second recommendation, normally in all, I would say, European countries, in other continents, you really need to see how it is. Normally there is support for disabled people outside the sport governments. So, for instance, as I showed in my presentation, there are a rehabilitation institute that is not connected with the sport. It's under another umbrella and another minister, but they support everything what are new projects. And I remember, and this was very important in Portugal, and still is very important to get budgets from different ministries that they are also supporting disabled people. So, and even if we go to the school, there are some supports for education inside the school for disabled children. So you should not only focus on sponsors that are connected with sport, or sponsors that are only connected with disabled people concerning sport, but also the other areas where where we have the disabled people. So it's quite big. That's why it's, and I think Flavio and even myself and András, we talk about this. It's important to speak with the different organizations. And if you have some doubts, then I'm pretty sure that your federation can tell you which other kinds of governments or ministers we have and what kind of different organizations we have in our country or in the different countries to try to understand how this works. Only focuses in sport, it is more difficult. Maybe not now anymore in Brazil or in Portugal, but in other countries still is. So you really should look about this. And I know, for instance, if you contact the Paralympic Committee, they have specific sponsors only for Paralympic sports, and maybe these sponsors can also help wheelchair handball. So this is a quite huge amount of information, but you should really, and you can contact the different organizations that here IHF and IHF have a lot of experience on this, and they can, I'm pretty sure, to help.
Can I explain the Croatian case? As I said, Croatian national team had some major projects in the past, of whom the biggest was, without a doubt, last year's Nations tournament, with great support of IHF, of course, but organizational problems or logistic things that we solved with the help of City of Zagreb. Of course, Croatian national team is equipped with everything that Croatian National Handball Federation is equipped with sport equipment, but we needed special equipment. So in that case, we didn't have any sponsor for special equipment, and we had to buy it for ourselves, or the members of the team, or we as a Zagreb or Croatian Handball Federation had to buy them the special needs for them. Here's the problem that I didn't mention in the presentation of handball adapted wheelchairs. The difference between the basketball wheelchairs and handball, that we had to adapt the wheelchair covers, and that was the mainly cost for us last year. And I had to mention that for the yearly preparation of a national team, we tried to a little bit separate in all Croatia. As I said, we had some receivings of mayors and politics and so, who promised us to receive us for a few days, and we planned to invite, for example, Slovenia for a couple of days, and had some mini stage of 3 or 4 days to play some games, invite Hungary in the other city, promote in the other area, and play some games with them, to train a few days, to get the whole team in 4 or 5 times a year. It's a really big thing for us. When you don't have a league, when you don't have a budget for this, you have to invent things. So the small group of us, of the enthusiasts that we are connected with the wheelchair handball, we are thinking how to, without the budget, without money, to get them really good and semi-professional conditions for development of the team. We are conscious of their lack of trainings and techniques and tactics and everything. That's only a number of hours on the court, but with this method, we managed after those results, but unfortunately, in this situation, we didn't realize that.
Okay, thank you. We have another question about the wheelchairs. Although I think someone just mentioned that the wheelchair basketball wheelchair is not really right for handball, but somebody asked about this. Are we considering standardizing for wheelchair handball rules, protection bars, height of the wheelchair for upper and lower classes, which I think Flavio spoke a little bit about today in the fora side. Use of mandatory lashings. How do you view this as a security issue for the game and for the players? I don't know exactly who is best to answer this. So. If the question is also visible in the Q&A, it's a long question, so maybe it's hard to hear.
I mean, in the rules 5+1, we did mention how a wheelchair handball should be set up, and it's basically following the earlier version of basketball. For example, when we started in Europe with wheelchair handball, we figured out that for players, it would be best to have basketball players, and the wheelchairs would actually be best from rugby because you do have this direct contact. But we also figured that those wheelchair rugby chairs are very expensive and they need a lot of attention and technicians, and it's a different culture regarding these chairs. So we had a try with the basketball wheelchairs, and until now, I'd say it worked quite fine. I mean, probably our colleagues from the national federations can give feedback on that, but from our side, I think it would not make sense to have a specific handball wheelchair, because this would only create even more costs for everyone, in particular for the teams.
Okay, the last question is maybe challenging to answer. Somebody just says, if you don't have so many female players, what are some suggestions to introduce some female players into your team? Has anyone dealt with this issue, needing to?
Sorry, Kathy, maybe I can. I already spoke about this. This was in Portugal. This was a decision why we are doing this joint, and at the European Handball Federation, it was the same. There is no problem getting women from basketball, wheelchair handball, or from other disabled people. I think there is not a problem, because we must look to our society in each country and try to understand how many disabled people are. Concerning contact, from our experience, from the 4 tournaments, and are only 4 tournaments, maybe when we have 20 tournaments, we have different opinion, but from the 4 tournaments, there was no dangerous problem between men's and women's concerning playing handball. Even we had MVP women in that tournament. In the goal or outside, there was not a difference, because normally the contact is more between the chairs, and then this is a question of training and of strength. And I believe that our national coach, here we have one like Ivan, they know this and they work this on the practice, so that this lap of strength is worked on the field. So for now, I think this is not a problem, and I think it's important to use the different women from the different sports. But again, I would like to say that I believe that in countries like Brazil, they don't need to think about this, because unfortunately they have a lot of disabled women, so they can do the. This is a bad thing for a good thing. So for me, this is always a quite difficult issue to speak. It's not very nice to have a lot of disabled women only because of sports. So this is very sensitive, and I think in the future, when we are discussing about if we should have women and men's competition, this is not an easy issue. Okay, because at the end, we would like to have no disabled people all around the world. This would be the perfect world, I would say.
Okay, that actually brings us to the end of the questions. So I think we will end there.
Before closing it, excuse me, maybe as very probably oldest person which is participate by this meeting, once again, I would like to thank to everybody for IHF, for technical help, to all people which was busy with the presentation and with the discussion. And first of all, also for people which participate yesterday and today, till now 70 people have patience to be on the end. Everybody was very enthusiastic. Don't forget that this first webinar was oriented on history, what was done, what we would like to do, and presentation of two rules variant. One rules variant is already accepted. I need to repeat it, accepted by IHF Council, and this variant will be used next year for first World Championship and first Europe Championship in wheelchair handball. And is second variant, which was presented today, must be bring to the form which will be presented for IHF Council, and I hope it will be very soon. And then we have more possibility to use the local condition because in each country is different situation. Some country like Brazil, which is very big, have built two national teams for both variant and separate for ladies and for men. In a small country like Croatia, is not possible. Also, then will be chance for each national federation to use one of these two-way or both. Thank you, Courtney, and I give word back to you.
Thank you, František. Actually, one more question has come in while you were speaking, and I do think it's interesting to address before we wrap up. Somebody asked about anti-doping. If a player is on some relaxation medicine like Lioresal for calming spasms or something, because there are maybe some different anti-doping considerations. I don't know who is best to speak about that. Flavio, is you?
For us in Brazil, it's not so common. We see something like that, like doping, because we didn't have in that moment structure to evaluate that things. But I believe in the next years, with the development of the wheelchair handball around the world, of course, we play and develop a sport, a competition sport. So of course, always the people need try to use that form. So today it's a different moment, but we need to be worried about it in the next years.
Okay. Then, so now we will finish. Thank you so much to all our panelists today. Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed and found this very informative, as I have. So that brings us to the end of this wheelchair handball webinar. Just a reminder that you will be able to find these on the IHF Education Centre for on-demand viewing, ihfeducation.ihf.info. And as mentioned earlier, also, František invites you to reach out to him if you have questions about support or anything like this. Jessica has already shared his email in the chat earlier. If you can't find it later, you can find IHF office contact on the IHF website and they will be able to put you in contact. So thank you again, everyone, and I hope to see you in real life on a court someday soon.